Hearing notices were mailed on the 15th. We also had it set in the Courier Observer, and it ran on 8/24. The public hearing was scheduled for 8/29. We received the transcript from the stenographer on 9/9. The F&Cs were received back from the Department of Health on 8/31. So the CON committee brings a seconded motion forward to approve Parrishville Volunteer Fire Department's application for expansion of their territory to include the townships of Potsdam, Pierpont, Stockholm, Brazier Falls, and Lawrence. We have two people from Parrishville here, so if anybody has any questions, they can answer them now. Does anybody have any questions for the Parrishville folks?
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. This will be a roll call vote. Karen?
James Barr,
Yes.
Paul Barter,
Yes.
Michael Bennett,
Yes.
Karen Blackburn, yes. Mark Dalton is not here. Mark Devers,
Yes.
Ken Gardner is not here. Larry Gerard,
Yes.
Rich Hughes,
Yes.
Walter Lehman,
Yes.
Robert McKenzie,
Yes.
Jonathan Mitchell is not here. Neil Rivenberg,
Yes.
Lance Ronas is not here. Dave Sherman,
Yes.
Bobby Simpson,
Yes.
Debbie Singleton,
Yes.
Ron Smith,
Yes.
Dottie Suter,
Yes.
Mark Tuttle is not here. Doug Wildermuth is not here. Bruce Wright,
Yes.
Matthew Yelton,
Yes.
and that's all.
So the vote is unanimous.
17 yeses.
I will work on the letter to send to the state, and then once I get the stenographer stuff, we'll forward that down, but I can at least get it started to the state tomorrow so that they'll have, I have to send a copy of the roll call paper and a cover letter and the timeline, which we will get to them. So, sorry you guys drove all the way down, but nobody had any questions, so that shows what a good application you put in, and it answered everything that everybody needed.
Thank you.
I want to drive for 5 minutes.
It's all right, it's all for the.
So we are all set with the stenographer part. Thank you. Yeah.
Have a nice evening and safe trip home.
Good seeing you.
Next is review of the previous minutes for approval. This goes back to the April 4th meeting. Any additions, changes, modifications, deletions, anything? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept.
Dave Sherman made this motion, Jim Barr seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Next thing is the treasurer's report. Treasurer's report was mailed out. Dave?
There's a balance sheet that was out there for everybody to pick up, pretty much give you an idea where we're sitting at right now with the checking account and the savings account. We don't have anything expected out right now, right, John?
We'll just have to process the reimbursement of whatever wasn't spent with the CON, but other than that, there's nothing outstanding.
That's where we're sitting right now.
So you'll notice that it looks very healthy, and we need to thank Ann Smith, who jumped through the hoops that the state wanted with different reports to get all the back caught up and get us the money. So that's where we're sitting right now, is at that amount. So do you want to go over or do you want to do it under executive, the changes we're making to the financial with the signatures and all that?
I don't actually have that in writing right now.
Okay.
Do you have that over there?
I do. So what we're doing is we're making a modification, and I believe Karen's working on Karen is going to be working on the SOP for it, and Jonathan was going to send her some stuff on how we're processing the credit cards as well. But if the check is less than $499, we're just gonna have one signature. Anything over $499 is gonna require two. Right now, the 2 signatures are required on everything. We just did a $4 check to pay the credit card, and it had to have 2 signatures. So if it's less than $499, we're just gonna go with 1 signature. If it's greater than $499, we will continue to get the 2 signatures. And we're putting that all together in an SOP, as well as how the credit card gets processed. And if we use it, you know, how we have to have the receipts turned in and all that stuff prior to it being paid. So that's all part of that. Do we have a motion to accept the balance sheet from September 21st? Bobby Simpson, do we have a second? Mike Bennett? Am I going too fast, Karen?
No, you're good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. On to the enforcement list. Can you make that a full page so we don't, or do we have to look at Tom's pretty face for the whole meeting?
We've got to look at Tom's face until Tom gets off the meeting.
There we go. So you can see there's quite a bit. We haven't met since April. This is through 9/26, the enforcements. Move your little mouse there so it's off. There we go.
Sorry.
That's all right. So you can see that they're continuing to hit some people with some fines as a source of revenue. We thought rather than reading them at each meeting, we could do this. It will be included in your packet with your minutes. It says we have to introduce this into minutes. When I get them, it tells me right in the letter that it has to be part of the stuff for the meeting. So we thought we could do it this way and avoid reading every single one. So, any questions on the enforcement list?
Is there any way to have county residents that report? I thought it was on a,
It shows, it doesn't show county, it shows where they live, where their address is. One thing I am working on though is going through all those violations to identify what it is, because I thought we could use that perhaps as a training. If there's 1 or 2 that seem to be really heavy that people are struggling with, that we could perhaps use that as a training opportunity to make sure that we don't have any of our folks' names up there. Do you want me to, do you want to see a column added with where they live?
it's the same.
Okay.
Get an idea if they're around.
Region.
Or
Region. Practicing region.
It doesn't tell you that, because you know, just like us, you could live in Jefferson County and practice in Central New York, so it doesn't, but I can at least tell you.
If we could get the county.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody lives in Jefferson County. Somebody who lives in, Suffolk.
Seems like there was 3 or 4 that were the Bronx this time. So quite a few from the Bronx.
Using a patient.
Yeah. Other correspondence, I have a resignation. This has been a very difficult decision after so much thought, but I am tendering my resignation to REMSCO effective now. It has been a pleasure and a passion to be involved in EMS from my Tri-Town Rescue and AEMT critical care days to being involved with REMSCO over all the past 30 years. I have learned so much from my time. EMS is ever evolving and changing, and now that I am not working in the ER, it is more difficult to keep up with all the changes and be a vital spot on the committee. I know out there is someone who will step up and be an asset to the committee. I wish you all well and will dearly miss every part, but it is time to leave quietly and sadly. I wish you all well, Carol Mooch. She was appointed in 1993. So I am going to try to get her to Spring Fling so we can recognize her. But leaving quietly, I'm not sure how much of that we're going to be able to do. We may have to go to her, but we're going to try to see if we can't make that happen. Any other correspondence? Committee reports, Air Medical.
I'm sure everybody's already aware of the, health operating zone with traffic. I know we looked at that. They're talking about,
Clinic, no, in the clinic in 26.
right now you're using and the second thing was but you guys already get the reports from Light Net and the nursing site, correct? And any work-from issues I can recommend. I don't know if that has to be motion or
I believe it's an ad hoc committee, so I'm just confirming that. That is an ad hoc, so if the members feel the same way, then we can just make it an ad hoc, and if something comes up, we can put it back in. Is everybody good with that? Auditing, we already went over what we covered at the executive committee on the 499. The books continue to get reconciled monthly and is forwarded to Dave and I for review, and we sign off on the reconciliation for the file, so that is done. Ron, bylaw.
I know this is going to be done in 2 or 3 parts. I know the executive committee is bringing forth some changes, and I'm going to turn that right back to you to bring forward those changes because you're familiar with them and I am not.
You want to do yours first? You want to do ours?
Do yours.
Okay. Can you pull
And I
up?
don't have yours in front of me, so.
That's okay. Can you pull up
I
the
just needed, Rich, can you slide that way just a hair for me, please? Thank you. Which one?
the proposed bylaw changes? So, Article 3, Section 2 currently reads, the membership shall consist of 10 members from each county unless the county agrees to forfeit a seat in said county, retains the right to reclaim the seat at the end of the term. The executive committee is proposing that the membership shall consist of members from each county based upon population, 1 seat for every 13,000 from the most current census data, and shall be reviewed and adjusted as new census data is published. So can you pull up that Excel? So I put together an Excel to look at this. And what I put in here was how many ambulances and how many first responders by county. Then I did the population from 2020. And if you can move it over a little bit.
Yep, I'm gonna zoom it out.
You can see that currently each county has 10 seats. And so I started with saying if we did seats by services and we gave 1 for every 4, that would put it at 20. And then I did 1 by population, 1 for every 13. And that would bring the council seats down to 19. We have not been at 30 for an awful long time. My thought is people have a burning desire to continue to assist us. We're going to need help on committees. And there's a lot of committee work that really needs to be done. And so the executive committee is bringing back that we do it seats by population.
And the reason for that is the same way your legislators are chosen.
So that is the first proposals. And again, these are just for review tonight. They will be voted on at the next regular meeting. And then the seconded.
Before we go to the next one, can I make comments on this?
Absolutely.
At this point. turning the clock way back. I'm the dinosaur of the council. Back in the days when our program agency was under Central New York. And I'm concerned about Lewis County here. All the assets went to Central New York because that's who had the population. And we got the table droppings. And I'm concerned that Lewis County in this deal will get the table droppings. Also, I hate to see that we can have as few a number as we want, but I hate to see us limit it below what is allowed by state law of 30. Because you're always going to have a deficiency of people resigning, people not participating, and lowering the number as you have. I guess I don't agree with that. But I realize the political wind says do it by population. But I don't agree with lowering the number to, and I am concerned for Lewis County. When I sit here, I try to represent all 3 counties equally.
As we all do.
So one of the big issues, Ron, and we discussed this too, is that, what if? Here's the major thing. 30 people, so what's quorum? What's the quorum?
30 people of filled seats.
Okay.
If you go by filled seats.
Right.
So
So yes,
if it's
filled
30
seats, but
30 people of filled seats is 16.
so let's say there's
But let's say you only can fill 20 seats. Then it's 11 people.
exactly. You
And-
understand?
And you're always going to have vacancies. So when you're reducing it to 20, you're only going to have a council of about 10 people.
So we were
10, 12 people.
looking at generally what was going on with our people actually attending, and everybody who sits on the committee recognizes that if you're not attending, you're not participating in what's going on. If you're not participating, then we're not, forgive me for saying this, we're not getting any value.
Right.
Which
Right.
is why we're making these. So again, it was a recommendation, and
And-
we hear what you're saying, and we thank you for
I'll
that.
carry this, and I don't want to be all negative. I don't want to sound like, I'm opposing the executive committee. No, I'm looking at what's being proposed and saying, I don't agree with. Now, one thing, the makeup of the council. If you look at the way the law is written and the intent, we're not as diversified as we should be.
We're gonna add law enforcement. We feel we should have law enforcement presence, and we don't have that right now. So that is one area that we are gonna add
So
is
if
law
you
enforcement.
add, like Al O'Neill was a member for years, and he brought a lot to the table, but he was just from one county. It would be good if you could have the sheriff's office represented, not just from one county, but from more than one county. And there's Red Cross is not represented. They are involved in emergency stuff. They teach first aid classes, last I knew. Maybe they've dropped them, but we used to have people represent them as well. And there's nothing to say that you can't have people from John Q. Public sit here.
We have people from John Q. Public. You're John Q. Public.
Yes, I am. Yes, I didn't used to be.
Right, but I mean,
Yes, but I mean truly from John Q. Public. I still am I still am in the fire department.
Dottie?
Actually, Red Cross is represented. I am Red Cross.
Oh, okay,
I am EPM and DPS.
okay.
What do those stand for?
I handle the disaster action team for Lewis County. I am the fire coordinator for that part of it, and I also do the preparedness for 27 counties I cover.
Dave?
So I think that Ron has made a good point, and I think we should, as with all bylaws, they're proposed, and then we vote on them. You got till next month, or till next meeting, not meant, forgive me. You got till the next formal meeting, to make up your
So,
mind, so.
under
we'll
this
just-
Which is February.
proposal,
February.
who
So you
are
got
you
till
going to get
February.
rid of? There's only 2 seats for Lewis County. Who's getting the axe?
We're here.
So essentially, one of the big things is we're gonna be looking at the attendance records.
But there's only 2 seats for Lewis County.
How many do we have
Somebody's
right
going
now?
to,
But the county EMS is gonna stay on. So Bob is going to be the county EMS office,
as a voting member or non-voting member?
non-voting, or you can make it voting. Again, this is just a proposal. You can, membership can do what they want with this.
How many seats do we have?
How many-
for
how
Lewis
many
County right now?
People do we have from Lewis County right now?
I'd have to look at the sheet there.
Well, the 3 of us, right?
Well, we just eliminated one because they had a very high attendance. And we have a couple more from that area that are above the, even though it's an excused absence, the bylaws state you have to be in attendance at 50% of the meetings. When you only have 4 meetings a year,
Again, that's another reason, we're looking at,
there's only 4 now.
yeah, so.
There's 4 now, but, so that means 2 are going to get the axe.
No,
No, because Bob doesn't count towards.
Okay, one is
that are
going to
here,
get the
Bob
axe.
is counted.
So it's one.
Bob is voting status now, is he not?
and there's nothing that says they can't stay voting. We can make our
But-
bylaws what we,
So if Bob stays a voting member and you've got 4 now, then that means
one.
and one's gonna get, somebody's gonna get the axe.
You got 1 with attendance, so
Yes.
that solves that problem. right?
I would suggest that changing that population number instead of 13K, make it 10K, takes you up to 25 members.
I have no problem with that.
No, I'm just saying. you know,
I'm just
if
saying,
you're
but
50
people gotta attend the meetings.
Oh, I understand.
And when we have 25 and we don't have enough, then we don't have the quorum and we can't act on stuff.
That was the point. That's
That was what we were
to
just
get
trying to have a quorum so that we can conduct business. That's all we're trying to, but if you guys, if you wanna see it changed,
It's probably not a good idea to do it by agency because we know that number is gonna wax.
Yep.
Over the years. And that's
and it has.
not to be that guy, but I mean, we
It
have 9
has.
right now, but that doesn't mean in 5 years we're gonna have 9.
at. That's why we went to
Yeah.
population, because
You know what I mean?
that being, sorry.
No, you're good.
that's-
We're already in talks with 2
Well,
other
that's why
agencies
that's why we
about
put
figuring
that, I put those in there was to see what it looked like.
Yeah.
Where the, everything
So the
fell out.
How well are the
Population may not
hospitals
wane.
represented here?
They're not.
They should be.
Ron, you go out and get them to come.
There's,
Have at it. I can't, what's that saying? You can't make, you
Right,
lead
right.
a horse to water, but you can't make him drink?
Right.
There's one from a hospital here.
Who's here from the hospital? You got a hospital rep.
so the,
Nick used to until he retired for a while though. You know, he used to come around as much as he could.
I think the one thing is that we're aware of who can be here. And we all, every one of us will argue the fact that, okay, we've got to be diverse, we got to cover everything. But I remember when that first came out, they wanted to start changing places, changing people and getting people, and we couldn't get people. The only people we could get were the ones who are already doing it. And then they were even, if you will, aging out and retiring and then trying to get new blood. And we were able to get a few new guys, but look,
Well,
bottom line
it's
is
harder.
if, while, okay, it's 30 seats and if they're filled, but if you've got 30 seats and they're all filled, but only 17 people show up tonight, we got 17 people out of 30. Well, I don't know how many were filled
No,
right now.
no, you don't have 30 people.
I just said that.
Yeah,
I
I know.
just misspoke, Ron. I'm not gonna split hairs with you. The bottom line is, it's a proposal, and we've got time to think about it. We hear what you're saying, and we understand it. But the argument with going with what you're saying is the numbers are already there, so. We're just looking at taking what we got in numbers and pairing them out and putting this into a usable format.
And we can't get doctors from all the hospitals to
Oh, I know.
participate in REMAC. So, I mean,
Well, it's a different room.
I mean, look around this room, look at the age sitting in this room.
Been a day already. If you're gonna say it, you gotta say it on the microphone.
I was just gonna add, as somebody who has a permanent seat in the visitor pen, nobody's ever been restricted. I've never been told I couldn't share an opinion or whatever just because you don't have a vote. I've been coming here for many, many years and nobody's ever told me to shut up. Okay, so if
I
people.
just do that at home.
If people want to participate, there's more than enough committees and things that you can do here to participate, whether you got a vote or not. It really doesn't matter.
And I
Wanna
haven't
be
been
here, you
on
be
as
here.
long as Ron has, but I've been on since '97, and I've not seen any county be misrepresented by the numbers of people showing up. So the bottom line is, I think it's something we need to look at moving forward. And again, we appreciate Ron's opinion, and whoever else may hold that opinion, make sure you send that forward to us, because the next meeting, we will be voting on this. So we need to know what you guys want.
And if you have a recommendation for a change, we can get all them together so that we can give them
Yep.
to everybody. If you want to propose the 1 to 10,000, we can put all that. When you go to 1 to 10, it's going to take Jefferson up to 11.
Wouldn't change. I'm doing math correctly.
Lewis County would, pardon, they would still get 2.
Yeah, they won't go to three.
Yeah, they're not gonna
You
go
would
up.
go to
Yeah,
3,
it wouldn't change, it wouldn't matter.
and St. Lawrence would go to 10.
So it really ends up going backwards from what we're talking
But,
about.
I mean,
Well, no, I just.
No, it's a
Yeah,
great idea.
There was discussion about, cutting down the numbers so far, and well, that would be one way to raise it. It has a downside. Everything,
what we will do is, I'll ask Jonathan, because I forwarded this to him, I'll ask him to email this to everybody so that you'll have it. It's in an Excel, so you can add a column and do whatever you want with it to play with the numbers. If somebody has a different suggestion on how to do the numbers, please share. But again, as Chris said, if anybody has a burning desire to do stuff, we have plenty to be done, but we can't have meetings and not have a quorum because we show so many people on the register and they can't attend.
Debbie,
Yep.
when you send it out, can you
2030.
give us not an exact, but kind of an average attendance at the meetings?
Yeah, I have that.
No, when you
Yep.
send that out?
Yeah, we won't give you the people, we'll
No,
just say,
just
yeah,
the
yep,
number of voting members.
Yep. we can do that.
And the other thing to be clear that is probably in what she's gonna hand out as well, is that the idea of using the census is the numbers will adjust with the census, the same way as it's used for legislators.
But I think what I just thought of that we could probably add too is that no county will ever have less than 2. So if some reason Lewis County's numbers go down to 8,000, that would take you to 1 member. We could say that there will always be a minimum of 2 to a county or something to make sure that it doesn't, even if the census numbers drop down or something. But, we were trying to figure out why we couldn't get the seats filled for Lewis. And then when I looked, my God, there's only 9 ambulances over there. That's,
9 ambulances being run by agencies.
I was just about to say the similar thing.
And it's a long drive.
It's a long drive. You know, or you get a mile. And Matt's got the same, he feels the same pain.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, and I'm sure that St. Lawrence County, the folks that just left here, they're probably an hour and a half out. Thank God that they've got.
Yeah,
the
that's
vacation
clear.
allowance to do this.
well, one thing we are looking at is we're looking for some clarification from the state on the new meeting thing. Because what I would like to see is have 3 pods, one in Jefferson and one in each county where you're together and we pod and we have everybody on, just like what we're doing here, but we have all 3 counties together so that you wouldn't have to drive as far. So we're just waiting for clarification. We have that in our bylaws that says we can do that, but then the state came out with us, no, you have to have a,
In-house quorum.
but we would have that. If everybody from Jefferson showed up, we would have an in-house quorum, and then we could pod the other 2. So just looking for some clarification for that.
Southern Tier enacted it, and I know Central New York is doing that for the next one for the same reason. She has 5 pods, so same concept. The only thing you have to do with those pods is they have to be public accessible and open.
Right.
So that, because it is a public meeting.
Right.
Which is easy enough for it to be like down at Bob's Fire Station or ours or wherever, kind of where we can get everybody together. As long as it's announced publicly and available and accessible, and I believe that it's okay, but I think you run into some weird stuff with the voting.
Yeah, we just have to, it has to be, we have to have audio, we have to have video.
All your
But-
voting would have to be roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we could do that, and like Chrissy driving down
Right.
tonight,
Yeah.
Parishville,
Could have gone to meet wherever the
because this is
location
her
was,
second
St.
trip
Lawrence.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's-
Yep. And our second one, our seconded motion, proposed bylaw changes. It currently reads under Article 3, Section 3, 3 consecutive absences or failures to attend 50% of the meetings in the council year shall constitute grounds for automatic termination of active membership. To qualify for an excused absence, the member must submit a written request within 2 weeks of the missing meeting, which shall be reviewed by the chair and adjudicated by the executive committee. We're proposing 3 consecutive absences or failure to attend 50% of the meetings in the council year shall constitute grounds for automatic termination of active membership. Requests for an excused absence shall be submitted in writing to the secretary and program agency prior to the scheduled meeting. Should an extenuating situation arise, the written request must be submitted within 24 hours after the meeting. Due to the nature of our deliverables, excused absences can't exceed 50% for the council year. We sent out a couple letters from our last executive committee meeting for people that were above 50%. And one said, I called the office, I told them I couldn't attend, blah, blah, blah. Well, we had no documentation of it. So he said, you know what, it's got to be in writing and it's got to go to the secretary and the program agency. So between the 2, we should have that copy so we can say, yes, you did request it. However, again, we typically only meet 4 times a year, and somebody that only attends 2 meetings, it's just very difficult. We need the participation. So those were the executive committees, and we will forward that to you as well, so that you will have it.
Now, question. When we was going through the stuff under my side of things, Ann raised a question that she thought the thing was going to change from 4/1 to 7/1 to 6/30, a different calendar year. Has that happened or not?
It has not.
Okay, then this change here should be the one that I was going to bring up.
It hasn't, and if we do make that change, we have to change our corporation papers, because our
Oh, you do?
corporation papers have the fiscal year in there.
You gotta run by your fiscal year.
Okay.
That was something the state, but I think they got pushback from other regions as well, saying you can't just decide today that we're changing our fiscal year.
Yeah, no, I was raising that question
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
Of course, we went through this way back in May, a long time ago, and a lot of the discussion I've forgotten by now. A lot's happened since May. So, yeah, all right.
So Ron,
And I don't have any problem with this. In fact, I wish that we could make it even stiffer than that, to be honest. But
okay, Ron, so go ahead through yours, please.
okay, we had a competing one on Article 3, number 2. We were going to change it, keep what you had
Karen, do you know
with
what
a
it was
minimum
titled?
of $5.
Do you know what his was titled, so I can just pull up which file it is?
That's,
That's the existing.
That was
This is your
the
changes.
changes that we was going to make as a minimum of 5 from each county, unless the county agrees to forfeit and all that. So that was going to bring down the number of seats in a different way. But give you the possibility of still having 30 if you had the numbers. Article 4, for the nominating committee, we was adding 1 from each county. Article 6 added the little word "be" down there on the last line. Question for the council down here, and this is so long ago I forget some of this stuff because this was back in May. Routine votes, unless otherwise stated in these bylaws, routine votes shall be decided by the majority of seated voting members present at the meeting. Members may be considered present via teleconference video. That's before we had that ruling.
Right.
So I guess that kind of acts as this, this may be voice vote counted. So I think that new ruling has already determined that this question has been answered. Would everybody agree that change is?
I think something should be in there just in case we have to go back.
Okay, what changes would, and
So the only
I was
thing-
gonna tape record tonight for any changes, you know, because I'm not a stenographer, or I'm not a secretary to write the changes,
I
so.
think the only thing that could let it go back was what caused it to go first time was executive order.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that changed that public meeting laws.
I do
That'll
know that
never
there
happen
is
again.
legislation being worked on to change that clause in public meeting law.
And the pod idea also, need to kind of keep that in mind as well.
So let's just void that one for now, I would think, and then as the system plays out in the next couple months or 6 months, or let's re-look at it. Would that be the best? Does everybody agree?
That's a good idea, Ron.
So I will say we withdraw that as consideration for council question number 7. Okay, going to the next page if you can. On the CON stuff. I added the paragraph. This is my handiwork and it was agreed to by the rest of the people present. Any CON appeal response papers, documents must be reviewed by the council chair and the CON chair before being submitted to the requesting party and/or parties. And that comes from an experience that a program agency person, not the current people, program agency person way back during an appeal, never consulted the CON chair, and I don't think the council chair was consulted either during that appeal. You weren't the
no,
chair
but I
then.
know it was, I saw that paperwork when I was cleaning out the mess up there at
Did
the
you?
office.
Yeah, and you know who was involved then. Yeah, and that's why this was written. Any questions on that? That's to protect our CON appeal process. Because it's the chair and the committee chair that has the information on that. Another question for the council, pages 6 and 7. Again, I'm not well versed and I just got back from another event, so I didn't have time to prepare for this. Should each committee include shall consist of a chair and X number of members? Because they don't, this outlines the structure of each committee and explains how many members each committee should have. Currently, the Education Training Committee, Peer Committee, and membership committees are not outlined that way.
My only question on that is if we define the number
Yeah.
and then the numbers change, you gotta go back and change your bylaws again.
I agree. That's why it came as a question. And sometimes, usually if you have a smaller number on the committee, you get more done. If you have a big number, everybody argues amongst each other, nothing gets done. But I don't know that we should dictate that we can't have 10 members on a committee, or that we've got to have only 3 members on a committee. I don't know that, but that's up to you. That's why this was brought to you folks.
Do you have a set number of committee members for the state council?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I was asking him if he has a set number of committee members at state council for those committees, and there's not.
The only rule we have is 50% must be vetted,
And only vetted members can vote.
and only vetted members can vote.
So scratch that as a proposal.
Yeah, that way we're mirroring REMSCO.
Okay. Sounds good to me. And that is my report.
Any questions on the bylaws? No questions? Okay, moving on to executive committee. We've had quite a few executive committee meetings. There's been a lot going on. So we will start with the presentation that I gave to CISM. So, as many of you are aware, we have an NNY CISM team. It has not been very active. They have been called and requested some pretty serious things and have not had the resources to do that. Paul found some grant money and ran a course, and he got 19 people out of it. And some questions were raised on where the funding comes from, and you know, if they're a 501c3 and things like that. And attempts to obtain that information before Spring Fling were unsuccessful on my part. I made numerous requests and did not get that information because in the past, they've always done a 50-50 raffle. And I wasn't opposed to that, but I wanted to know what the money was going for to be able to share with you folks. And I was not given that information. Leah Murphy reached out to me and said that they were trying to resurrect the team. And she said, we're looking at taking money and starting a 501c3 and doing a bunch of this stuff. I said, that's a lot of money to form that. I said, let's see what we can do from a region end. So I met with the executive committee and we talked about, we felt that this really should be one of our deliverables. Taking care of our people is pretty important. We need everybody out there, and that is kind of what we're charged with. And we already have the 3 counties, and was there something we could do? So we felt originally I was going to put it under a new committee. And then when I read through them, we have a safety committee. The safety committee shall consist of a chair and at least 2 members, 1 from each county, whom shall be responsible for the education of all EMS providers and maintaining a safe environment to provide out-of-hospital patient care. It goes on to some other things. So we felt it's not just physical safety, it's mental safety as well. So I put this presentation together. And Leah, they had a meeting last Wednesday and I was unable to attend in person because I was driving back from a conference. So she presented this to them. So originally we were going to call it the North Country CISM. And she came back and said, why can't we keep our name? And she said, we already have pens printed, we have pads printed, we have all that. And we're like, okay. Didn't know if you guys wanted to play with us or if you didn't want to play with us, so we didn't want to assume. And she said no. So it would not be called the North Country CISM. It'll stay the name Northern New York CISM. And we want to help with all first responders, fire, EMS, and law. It will allow us as a council to provide some funding, some guidance, some training, and liability coverage and oversight of the CISM. So all expenses would be submitted to us to be paid. They would have a budget line that we would be reviewing, and they would be giving us reports that we would develop to begin with of what we want that would be reported at all these meetings for everybody here to see. So, met with Marley. She's the person that came up and did the training. I said she's going to help us develop some policies and procedures. And we wanted these folks to know that we're currently on the team, that we don't want to lose them, that their knowledge and experience is critical to these new people that are starting, that they need that guidance and that direction, and that we would provide applications to everyone, and that I hope they would consider remaining a member of the team. So Julie presented this, and some people have indicated they don't want to do that they're going to retire. And I said to Julie, they probably were going to retire anyways. And she said, we have policies and procedures. I said, great, forward them to me. She said, well, I got to find them. I said, well, the fact that you don't know where your policies and procedures are, tell me that you're probably not really following them. But I said, that would be great. And there was some concern about them having to redo applications. And I said, if you have applications on file that you can forward to us of the current members, we would accept those. They would just come right over. And she said, okay. And do I have another slide there? Not just that way. I told them to reach out to me. So it was left. She said, we have an application and we have bylaws. And I said, if you could get them to me, I've got them. I forwarded them to the executive committee. We're going to look at the application and see what we need to do to make sure that it's legal. Marley has offered to review it as well to make sure that everything that is in there is correct. And she forwarded the bylaws, which have not been updated, I don't think.
2005 is the date on them.
5 or 7.
Yeah. So what I see when I went through those is we would just add a section under safety committee with the key points in there. And that would just be the bylaws. They would be included in the REMSCO bylaws. So I went up and met with the group that was doing the training, told them what we were looking at doing. And I believe all of them are interested in becoming part of this. Neil has offered to kind of be the liaison and be on that safety committee and be the liaison to bring back stuff to us and work with folks. Neil, why don't you tell them kind of some of the stuff that you've set up already for them?
So one of the biggest challenges that, and just for a little more background, this is not just born out of this group of 19 people, but when I came to Jefferson County, I started recognizing a gap in the 911 center in critical incident stress management. And I put some of my staff through a class to be able to take care of our own. And it's come with its own challenges, such as most of the people that work together every day don't want to talk to each other about their touchy-feely stuff. So I started looking outside to, can I get a couple people from St. Lawrence trained, a couple from Lewis trained, a couple from Oswego trained, and my people could go to them, but they could come to me. So 3 years later, we've gone nowhere. A couple of different times I've looked for information in our CAD for who to call, and the only person listed in the CAD currently was Julie and George Turner, and George left 2 years ago for Florida. So there was a gap there, and in 3 years of being at the county, I've never met Julie until she came to tell us about the Northern New York team at our training. So that was a couple of gaps that I identified that, caused me some consternation. And bless you. The other challenge was getting, as I'm sure happens for Bob in Lewis County and Matt and his people up in St. Lawrence County. We're often the people in the middle of the night that get the call saying, hey, we need some help. What do you got for us? And my answer is, let me get back to you. So it's happened as recently as well, it's been about 5 times in the last 2 years that I've needed resources that I could not bring to bear. And as most recently, one was a incident that involved fire department and a couple of ambulances with maiming and death, and you know the drill, and that was ended up at the legislature with the legislature asking my boss, where's this resource? So I put, again, 2 people and myself went to this class that Paul arranged, because part of my responsibility, as I believe all of you is, to protect our own and take care of our people. And that goes outside of my 911 center, because I'm a fireman, I'm a paramedic, and you know, I get the call in the middle of the night saying, what do we do? As recent as last night. As recent as last night. Northern New York did put people together last night, and they did go out to Evans Mills and they did a diffusing. Leah, a lot of kudos for that, because I threw it at her at 5:30 at night and she got it done. But there's a gap here, and I think that it's not, we can't afford to lose the providers that we have. You guys all recognize that in your agencies. And I can't afford to lose any dispatchers, because I'm down 12 spots right now. So we have to do something different. There was a little, again, big word, consternation at the class when there was a presentation that essentially ended with a statement of, some of you will be welcomed to be a part of our team. And there was about 18 people plus me that said, yeah, that's not gonna work for me. So county does have the ability to establish special teams in county law. And we considered, Paul and I discussed and considered the possibility of going forward to the legislature under health department to establish a Jefferson County team. But that's not taking care of our brethren in our neighborhood. So when Deb came with this proposal, I was fairly quick to jump on board, because, and I think my only question for Deb was, we're going to make sure we're taking care of everybody, not just EMS providers, and that's a huge part of this. So the challenges that I saw right out the gate was lack of communication. I identified that, you know, as I said, with Julie not having familiarity with Julie, and she's right down the road. She's sitting in a dispatch center for her full-time job, and I don't know who she was until a couple of weeks ago. But 1986 called and they want their phone tree back. So with the technology that we have, I have right now 19 people plus Deb and Paul in that group of the 18 people plus myself that took that class in an IAR group. I am responding. So I have messaging capabilities for the entire group. I've also established a CISM at Jefferson County email address that has the 18 people in it. And myself and 2 of my staff members are administrators on that, as well as Paul. So we can add and detract people from the group as we need to. But the message that I gave the 18 people that took class with me was, we're working on it, and I'll keep you in the loop. So if the council decides to track with what Deb's proposing, which I think is for the good of the whole in all 3 counties, we'll continue to play our part to support that for everybody and anybody from NNY to new. And there's a need for it. There's value in it. I'm only here 30 years into being a paramedic because of it, although I am as 10 feet tall and bulletproof as every other one of you. But I really have a soft spot for how left out dispatchers have gotten, and I'm going to see that be different. Whether we take care of it in our own house, or whether we take care of it as a council, or as we take care of it as a Northern New York group. So that's my pitch onto the back end of this, and I'm 100%, and our office is 100% behind. I'm speaking on behalf of Joe and myself, are 100% behind this concept and formulating it under the council. The only concern I have coming out of this is I'm not a big fan of groups of people operating with their own little bylaws and their own little hierarchy. It needs to be under this council, as part of this council, and with a liaison, and I don't need a fiefdom. I've got enough fiefdoms that I go and deal with on a daily basis, 3 or 4 this week alone. So I will be a big advocate for ruling by committee and eliminating individual power heads. So that's my position on it.
So I did have a meeting when we were supposed to meet last time ahead of time, and I'd invited all 3 representatives from the counties to attend. Bob, would you like to add anything?
Not really. I actually, thanks for having the class, for both of you, and finding funding to do that. I don't believe that, I think we may have had a couple from Lewis County that went to that.
No, they're all Jefferson, I think.
Yeah, I think some border Carthage folks, so they're bordering it.
So that was, that's been a hole in our county for quite a while. I do know that there are members from the NMYC and CISM. Once again, it was the hierarchy. I would say, hey, together, and you call somebody, but you got to call this one. Team was in there somewhere. I digress. It was one of those things that that I was really glad to stimulate, to have that the conversation woke up again. And I really think it's important that it got pushed forward, because the only thing that we had in our county was the sudden and traumatic loss event team, which is through public health and through the hospital. And those people aren't prepared for our world. They're there to help assist the community members, and they're there to that single stressor that caused the incident. That's what they like to face. They don't understand cumulative stress the way we do, and they don't understand they don't see that. It's just that single loss, and that traumatic loss that they want to handle, and they're not ready for our world. So we actually need CISM teams that are ready, that are qualified to do what. So
One thing to add.
hopefully we can keep moving forward. Glad to see it come under this group, and hopefully we can definitely make some changes.
Just one little thing to add to my soapbox was 2 years ago, actually 2019. The same course or the same 2 courses that Marley taught for us with the 19 people that we attended. There was one sponsored in 2019 by River Hospital, and there was 71 people in that class. And that encompassed law enforcement, fire service, EMS community, and pretty much the groups of people all went back and started to tackle this monster on their own. But there's a pool of resources out there that we just have to get engaged in the conversation. Bobby, you took the one, and nothing ever came of it.
And my thought was, and Marley's already put it in her calendar, that Friday of Spring Fling we would be offering free CISM training again. When Debbie Foltz was a member, we did it every other year, but we're going to do it every year. There's just a dynamic changing. There's money that we can move around in the budget to support this. And again, I think this is part of this is one of our deliverables, is taking care of our own, and we need to do that.
So is this going to require a bylaw change?
No,
Okay, so the committee is not in the bylaws.
it's going under the safety committee.
Okay, is there any wording that has to be changed to allow that to happen?
I would like, she just forwarded me their bylaws. I would like to take the section on what they're chartered with doing and just adding that as a paragraph underneath the safety committee.
Can we consider that read this meeting, send it out with the other changes, and we vote on it next meeting?
Probably not, but we don't need it to be in there to proceed forward. We don't, my hope is that we're gonna hit the ground running tomorrow, getting those applications to those folks, sending something out. I would like to send something out to all the agencies, including law and fire. Do you have people that are interested in helping with this? I know there's people that have left the CISM that I'm hoping that some of the older members may know who they are, so we can reach out to them and see if we can get them to come back in. But we're gonna let them do the CISM. They're not gonna have to manage, they're not gonna have to look for money, they're not gonna have to hold meetings to do this or that, and we're gonna let them do the CISM, which is what we need them to do.
We'll essentially be the management group.
We will be the management group.
And it's important to say, to make no mistake, that the people that have been engaged in the NNY aspect of this for a long time are valued resources.
Absolutely.
Because the 19 people that took this class 2 weeks ago and the 60 that took it 2 years ago are not ready to stand on their own. They need that experience and that guidance. So there's a huge value added in this. I hope they can see the forest through the trees and we'll jump in, because at the very least, it saves them from having to have the embarrassment of saying, no, I can't go, or no, I won't go, because there's a bigger pool of people to send.
I can put you into touch with Josh Stagner, the safety committee chair for Mid-State. I revamped the whole CISM team down there and did basically the same model, using I am responding, 4 teams on rotation. The only kind of difference that we did, I added dispatchers, found law enforcement officers that have training from the academy who do that stuff specifically, because the troopers tend to only want to use somebody who has the trooper background. The sheriffs typically only want to use, in the local law enforcement, same thing, and dispatchers. But we added another component of licensed clinical social worker to the mix, so that they, once you do a diffusing or do a group session, you typically find that colleagues don't like to talk to colleagues. You can add them the afforded opportunity to have a one-on-one session with a licensed clinical social worker that gives them the professional help avenue. For us, I don't know if you'll be able to do the same thing, but for us, we found someone who does it pro bono for any first responder facet, so that they have that added specialized.
We've had several people in the wings
Yeah.
that are clinicians
Yeah.
that are very eager to help.
Yeah, we encountered a very similar situation where it was kind of reported and messed up, and I went in and the program director at that point in time said, you got 2 options: wipe the team clean and we'll just use somebody else, or restructure and create something else. So we restructured and did basically the same format. So we covered everybody from law enforcement to fire service to EMS to everything in between. And each team is comprised of a member from each entity.
I was hoping to have from the insurance company, and I didn't have it, the liability cost to add to our rider. I don't have that, but I should have that here, and I'll just send it to the executive committee for approval. He didn't think it was gonna add that much to we already have a rider policy for the executive committee errors and omissions. But right now they don't have anything. And this way, they can submit mileage on our T&E forms. We can help compensate the committee members that go out, the team members that go out, and I just think and Dottie, I know you've been a member for a long time, and we're not, again, we don't want to lose any of you now, and I don't know if you were in attendance at the meeting.
No, I was up to Morristown, teaching, so I couldn't make it back.
But, I told her to call me if anybody had any burning questions, but Leah's on board. Some of the other people aren't, but again, those that we're talking about retiring, probably we're gonna retire anyways.
We do have some due to health reasons or moving away.
So,
The last thing that I'll just say, the pool that we got together on this course included fire, EMS, dispatch, we had clergy, and we had Fort Drum, 2 people from out at Fort Drum. So we had a good mix to start with. So all those other folks out there adding to would be an incredible team.
So the executive committee brings back a seconded motion that the NNY CISM team becomes part of the North Country REMSCO for management oversight, funding, all the things that I had up there. I'd already spoke with Larry. Since Larry was the chair of the safety committee, I didn't want to get him caught off guard on what we were looking at doing, so he heard it for the first time tonight. Neil is very eager to join that safety committee and help be that liaison. I think Leah is very eager to keep it going and wants to help. And that's what I think we need. So, any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? We will move forward. I will talk with Leah again tomorrow. Get those applications that she has. Again, Marley was working with me to review that other application. What I will do is get the bylaws, what we're gonna add, and we'll send it out with that. But if we choose not to vote on the bylaws until the April meeting, because we're doing a bunch of things, we can do that too. There's nothing that says, our deliverable is they have to be reviewed annually. We've reviewed them, we're making some major changes, and that's what I can put in the report that we have to send to the state. Other things that we discussed at executive committee was one of the deliverables now for the program agency is they have to meet monthly with the executive committee. Right now, every other month, myself, Mark is the vice chair, Ann and Dr. Delaney meet, and we go over some strategic things from the REMAX side, what she's seeing, what she'd like us to work on. So now we're going to be meeting monthly, and what we're going, and we have to take minutes that she has to send in with her quarterly report. But how we're going to do it is we're just going to look at a part of our deliverable. We have 15 different deliverables, I think. There's a report with the, so each month we're just going to take a different deliverable, and that's what we're going to review. Are we doing what we need? We certainly don't want to duplicate efforts. It says you have to have files for everybody. We don't need files. They don't need files. We want to try to get everything up in the cloud and electronic. So every month what we'll be doing is just reviewing new deliverable and making sure we're doing what we need on that. Did I miss anything that?
Question. A curiosity question. Is that an in-person meeting every month, or is that?
We did it Zoom or
Teams.
Yeah. Yeah, the regulatory meetings that have to be in person are the REMAC and the REMSCO.
Okay. I was just asking.
Yeah,
I didn't care. I just.
Now, when we
just
meet with
curious.
Dr. Delaney, we do that in person.
All of you are in person?
Yep. Yep. Did I miss anything, Karen? Dave? No. Any questions on the executive committee? Fort Drum. It's still there, right?
Gotta go on for it.
I don't have anything really pertinent to add. Most of it, I think, the training committee with EMS guy, but we are in the initial stages of identifying the concept and objectives for this year's. If there's anything in the subcommittee or in this committee that you feel would be useful to be validated or tested in an exercise, we're always willing to build that into our concept. So I know the only other really option around here is the airport full-scale exercise that they only do like 3:30, right? So just put that out there. They always do our full-scale exercise in July.
Any questions for Fort Drum? On Fort Drum? Legislation.
I don't really have a formal report. We met back in April and when everybody was discussing the governor's budget issues, and discussed if there was anything new came out of that we needed to be bringing forward. We would have another meeting, and pretty much everybody was aware of what's going on. So there was nothing formal beyond that.
Karen, membership. we're letting him stay on. And we didn't hear from the other one. Yeah, I didn't hear from them. So not only did we email them, we sent them out in snail mail as well. So they went 2 different ways. So I'm sure they get it. So obviously membership, we won't do much there until we figure out what we're doing with our makeup here. Here.
Basically, we have 2 excellence in EMS that do what Jonathan and Craig did. Throw together. One is for Joe Martin, and I forgot what agency he was working for. Was it? And the other one is for a couple of Bruce's kids, Julia and Kyle. And that's not too bad.
Damn it,
Yeah. They grow up so fast.
Hey, look, his mother used to say she had 100 kids working for her.
Maybe another year.
She had 128 one time.
Program agency report.
That's gonna be me tonight, so you're gonna have to bear with me, and I apologize in advance. I'm not as good at this as what Ann is.
Where's Ann?
Ann is at the Mountain Lakes REMSCO meeting, which is tonight.
Oh, okay.
We'll be the judge.
Yes, that's right.
Thanks, Paul.
I done a joint public hearing with them once.
So
When I was
RTAC,
secretary.
the meeting was held September 3rd. They are no longer offering a virtual option. The next meeting is to be determined. Their new chair is Roseanne Guzman Curtis. And Jolene Kittle has moved to a new position, so she's no longer with the trauma program. But it is good that they have a new chair because the expected loss with their former. Our stack was July 17th, September 16th, and the next meeting is December 16th. Minutes were shared electronically for the meeting. They've got an AHA initiative for EMS in rural hospitals, where EMS may collect data for specific stroke and STEMI criteria and potentially be awarded based on 3 tiers of data measures. Rural hospitals, so the critical access hospitals, to consider enrolling in the AHA initiative to get with guidelines of data collection programs. And this is just a breakdown of the tiers. This will all be attached with your minutes too, so you can review it
In color?
in color,
Okay,
just for you, Bruce.
thank you.
So we are extending the Fast ED educational video. So FDR-HPO, Central New York EMS, and SUNY Upstate worked together on this and then brought in Mid-State EMS for the second phase of it. There still is a sizable amount of funding available. It's $229, don't quote me, available per agency that has over 50% of their roster complete this training. And I believe they're working on little tags to go with like your ID badges.
The ID buddies.
Yeah, ID buddies to give out with us as well.
Stuff on
Yep.
Yes.
We use the mid-state ones in our ambulances. Yep, that is the exact same thing we gave it to SUNY to recreate. Yep. It's a great tool, it really is. Yeah, MVHS came up with it and we handed it off to them to recreate.
Agency renewals. So this is since our last meeting. I'm not gonna read through them all. Medical director changes that were approved at the REMAC, so Fort Drum Ambulance to Major Griffin Bedorn.
That probably needs to change again already.
No, I think that's the new name.
This week.
Pedron? Oh, okay, then we do have paperwork that was received in the office today for their new medical director change. But on REMAP or REMSCO days, I really don't do anything other than prep for you guys. Carthage Fire Department to Dr. Maynard. Fulton Fire Department from Dr. Heiss to Dr. Coates. Parishville to Dr. Coates, and Edwards Fire Department BLSFR to Dr. Quinn. And those were all REMAC approved. BLS adjuncts, so we did have a BLS blood glucometry application from Briar Hill that was approved by the REMAC, and Indian River's BLS 12 lead packet was approved by the REMAC. Health Commerce System, so the state has put out a couple policies on it. It does not work
No, it doesn't.
at all. So the state is working right now to figure out. The problem is it's pulling from 3 different data pools, and 2 of them are very outdated. So if your name on your EMT card doesn't match your name on your driver's license, you can't pull your information. So they're working through all of that and getting the databases to match. It requires a notary signature. I've sent my paperwork in to be the coordinator for here and Mountain Lakes 3 times, and I finally got Mountain Lakes, and I still haven't gotten North Country. And I've been in North Country for the last 5 years. So we're working with them. Ann was the one who brought up a majority of these issues to the state to get them to start working on it, and the conversations have gone pretty well. So EPCR, so DeGrasse, Clare, South Russell is still waiting to go live with Image Trend. West Stockholm went live with Image Trend at the beginning of the month. Before, it was any department that was enrolled in the online CME program, or not, sorry, in the CME program for recertification had to go to electronic documentation. We only had 1 department that failed to meet that requirement, and they voluntarily went back down to not being enrolled in the program, and that was Chimo Fire Department. DeFerriet, I'm actually meeting with next week to set up their system, and Neil and I have bounced emails back and forth to get North Pole set up on the system as well. And I think we might have to do something with Redwood because I don't think they're active anymore.
Fire department is, they're
Fire
still
department
first
is.
responders.
Hey, Jonathan, Cape Vincent
Oh,
as
yes.
of 10/1,
Yep,
or, yeah, 10/30.
are no longer responding. So EPCR data integrity. So there's going to be another schematron update. It's everybody's favorite word. It starts with an S. That is scheduled for January 23rd. We are in multiple meetings right now with the various different EPCR vendors throughout the state, making sure that they understand what the measures are and that they intend on meeting them, and they don't see that there is any issue with meeting them.
I'm just happy they wanted to go live January 1st again, and we said, you can't do that at the beginning of the year when we've got all the reports and everything, so I'm very happy we got them to move to the 23rd from the beginning of the year.
This came out of Mountain Lakes, but it's been one of Jessica's first projects. It was, I introduced her, so sorry. This is Jessica Thompson. She is our new clinical coordinator here at the program agency. So she is here with me in the office on Tuesday, Thursdays, and gets to share an office with me, which is just a joy, right?
Yeah.
So we have completed
it.
And we'll have the actual findings out to everyone soon. The state is working towards NEMSIS 3.5, which is a good thing. It will be a good thing. And we have,
Saying that.
yeah, someday.
2025.
Yeah. So we're also having multiple data issues with ESO, which is one of the software vendors. My best guesstimate is I'm only getting a third of their charts. It was brought to light when Fort Drum Ambulance switched over to ESO, and they were having multiple issues, and then ESO tried telling us it was just Fort Drum Ambulance, and I said, well, I don't know about that. So I contacted our other ESO agencies and found that I think in 1 month, I only got 600 charts of Guilfoyle, and they ran close to 2,000. So like there's some massive data issues, which are skewing a lot of our reports because we're not getting all the data. I have a call with ESO tomorrow with them and the state, because we've gotten the state involved on it, because they keep saying that they're going to fix it. And then
So they're responding to you then?
not really. They're responding to the state. They're not responding to
They,
us.
they didn't really get a choice. They're not responding electronically or by phone. I've called them, I've emailed them, they're not responding.
The state basically said.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the state has finally gotten involved and has put their foot down, so hopefully this will start fixing, but we have a meeting with them tomorrow to talk about the new data stuff, but that's gonna be a point of conversation too. That's what I'm doing.
Apparently Peter cornered them at the Nemesis conference.
So it's causing some massive data integrity issues. CME noncompliance and reinstatement. So we had, for providers non-compliant and completing their biannual skills by the end of June, we had 2 providers that still currently remain non-compliant. We had 2 providers that had been previously non-compliant and were brought back online, and there's 2 providers who were out on medical leaves. Agencies are getting tremendously better at notifying us at the program agency if somebody is no longer running with them. But I still get phone calls from an agency that says, oh, they've been gone for 3 years. You told me that 3 years ago. So trainings, so we did have the Surviving and Thriving training, but we ended up canceling it due to low enrollment. I believe Debbie and Ann are working with Maggie to try to schedule something in January, February timeframe. Spring Fling is going to be April 27th through the 29th. The call for speakers has gone out, and the vendors packets I just finished today, and Jess and Debbie will be taking them to Vital Signs with them, so we can start getting vendors signed up for all of that. And then FDR HPO just purchased a learning management system. It's very similar to the state's Vital Signs Academy platform. It actually has the ability to switch between accounts. So if you already have an account in Vital Signs Academy, we can just add you to the system. You just have to let us know. And we're gonna be hoping to roll that out by the end of the year. So January 1st, it will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, live for the region. And we were actually able to get it at a deal because FDR HPO now holding the contract for Mountain Lakes REMSCO as well as the program agency. We were able to buy it for both regions for the cost of one. So it worked out well for us. ALS inspections and in the Sackets Harbor one, they are upgraded to AEMT. Other REMAC approvals, Dr. Snicer resigned from the REMAC. He's moving out of the area. They're working on developing a best practice for narcotics wasting. We did get an endorsed to create an ESO command, which will also help with the back end of charts not validating and the issues that ESO is having. They also voted to update the minimum equipment list by adding Afrin for the epistaxis protocol and TXA as optional medications for CCNP paramedic. The critical cares just have to have med control order to use it. They removed the secondary airway for pediatrics for AEMTs and removed 14 gauge catheters for all levels, but the 14 gauge for needle chest decompression still remains. Miscellaneous, so EMS office participation in the state quality metrics, the state legislative committee, and the state systems committee review of 606. State EMS meetings, they attended in July and September, the next meetings being December 6th through the 7th, and Ann and I attended the EMS memorial on September 20th.
We had some good
Yes, we had
representation.
great
from our
representation from
area.
the North Country.
Isn't 0606 the CLN?
Yep.
That's right.
There was
That-
really
I
good.
was working, it's been about 3 years since I was into that.
There was really good representation from the North Country at the EMS memorial. So Jeff was there, Governor had a rig, Indian River had a rig, Guilfoyle was there,
I was there, yeah.
county office was there. It was nice to see.
It was a very, very nice memorial. They did
Yeah.
a wonderful job.
Miscellaneous, so CNY health emergency preparedness. and the North Country, or the Northern New York Child Fatality Review Team. The North Country REMSCO voucher was completed and the contract renewal process is completed, and it has been approved. And we are still awaiting state validation on the program agency contract renewal. And also, as mentioned a few times, we have merged program agencies with the Mountain Lake Program Agency. That's why Ann is not here tonight. She's over there. And you should not expect any change in what you get from us. In fact, you should probably get better because it's allowed us to add some staff to the office as well with Zach Boucher coming on from the Mountain Lakes region. We were able to absorb him and we brought on Jessica. We also have a new email address to send any of your paperwork in on, and it's paperwork@fdrhpo.org. We were finding that a lot of people were sending things to either just me or just Ann, and if I was out in August with COVID, things were in my email that she didn't know about. So if we have this paperwork address, everybody gets it. And we also have new phone numbers for the office. It's still 775-2020, and then we're option 2, and it'll ring all of our phones. So you're bound to get someone. Questions for the program agency, and hopefully maybe I can answer them. And if it's to turn on the air conditioner, I can't do that.
Oh, that was it.
That covered the REMAC as well, because we went over the second things in there. Safety, Larry.
Pretty well covered us. Nothing beyond that. Look forward to seeing what our deliverables will be and what all kind of information we'll be bringing to the board. So until you get things a little bit organized and figure out who's telling who what, can't really say anything about that right now. What you do, we'll bring it to you.
Mark, REMSCO and CMAC.
We have had 2 meetings since the last time we met. Out of the July meeting, the only thing that's not been covered that's of severe interest is we have a new deputy commissioner, Dr. Morley, who has actually been attending parts of the meeting. At the September meeting, there was no word from the commissioner on the combined EMT aid program that Debbie has done, but apparently that's now changed. The EO that expired in the end of August does affect certification and recertification, so the reciprocity stuff, a lot of that was tied there. They're taking a big look at the academy style classes, not only how they reimburse, they basically reimbursed in 4 chunks for those classes instead of all or nothing. But they also have some money there where they may be able to fund some more. There were some noted issues with the original set of classes in the structure. So they didn't think that anybody would want them, and I guess a lot of people have been bugging the state to look at those more. So they are working on putting together some better curriculum for it. They're working on a second draft of the practical skills exam, and they're doing pilot programs to see how much it's going to cost. Regional faculty updates will be on Vital Signs Academy, the CIC courses, Nancy only CLI didactic will be on Vital Signs Academy, and they're doing away with specialty course sponsors, and 20,000 people have taken the AP classes this year. If we go back to the governor's budget, there was a part called Part F. The REMSCO made a very small number of changes to that and set that back up under comments on the proposed budget or something like that, with hopes that the good things that were in there would actually get back around. There are 12 CO1 appeals. 1, 2.
12 CON
and 2 Article 78s. There's been an increase in the number of trauma centers, mostly level 3, so there's another subcommittee to look at where we should be, what is the best destination, especially in areas with multiple level trauma centers. So between Utica, Syracuse to go to SUNY or St. Louis. Here we have just a massive number of selection of trauma centers. There's new ACS guidelines that were approved by the CMAC. You can Google them. Apparently, RTAC didn't find out about that, but CMAC did. Offload times have increased, so there's another bleeping subgroup being formed to look at offload times being increased. And we're going to attempt to engage the hospitals. The CMAC is going to sit down with the Public Health Committee, which is apparently the hospital version of CMAC essentially, and see if they can engage some conversation. The Rural Task Force, I believe, is now full. I believe. I don't know what I'm liberty to discuss about that, but they finished up the vetting process with a couple of people. They're looking at more data quality. Yay. One of the lengthy conversations during quality metrics is that it takes longer to do a chart than it does to do the call, and we're getting a bunch of useless data points that mean nothing, and they're completely inaccurate.
Somebody noticed that? That's weird.
Yeah, apparently after all these years, they finally recognized that we're getting useless data, and it means nothing because half of it's not getting reported to the state. And if you look at stroke, you have like 6 options for stroke, because I can tell what vessel it is by my patient with facial group. They're looking at cutting it down. Apparently, there's some disagreement between NEPSIS and nobody from NEPSIS has actually been on an ambulance in 100 years, so they have no idea what data is important. But there's some disagreement between the state and NEPSIS, and we'll see where that ends up. The data dictionary is still being in process for 5 years, and there's 2 paramedic programs with ETCR education in the classroom. They're using ImageTrend as a documentation software for class. CMAC did a whole bunch of New York City stuff, and they approved the 2023 trauma guidelines. AEMT removes endotracheal intubation effective 1/1. And it's coming out of the curriculum as well.
And anybody that tests in December won't be tested.
There's changes to the extended delirium and pediatric mental health protocols. There's changes, obviously, they approved an effort in the formulary. Gene Taylor finally retired. They are doing full service inspections, and apparently you are getting no more than 7 days notice.
And to add on to that too, because Mike and Melissa were here last week, they're being pushed to not even give you more than 48 hours notice.
So
What's not getting, I'm sorry, I missed something here.
State inspections. State inspections.
Ambulance inspections.
In some ways, that's good, because then they find out how you really operate.
I have my own opinions, especially with the pandemic and the way I really think that we're at the point where we should be doing free inspection this time around, because you have some people who've been in leadership for a while, and you have people that are brand new leadership that are throwing the keys. And I don't really want to see more stickers slapped on ambulances because somebody got shown wrong. And that is basically the highlights. The only other thing I would add is the sustainability tag white paper. All 103 pages came out right. Briefly scrolling through it, don't know what it's going to look like when it's done, but if you have agencies below 80% response rate, I would start pushing them to look at alternatives, because there's a lot of that in there. So that is my report.
Our next meeting is December 6th and 7th.
6th and 7th.
Those are open to anybody?
They are, and kind of not as a technical substantive thing. There is some positive that the advocacy groups were actually able to sit down in a room, spend forever, and have a conversation. Really for the first time in about 15 years, that the major advocacy groups were the same way.
Brian did ask if anybody had any new recruitment retention things they were doing. There's something new you just started. He would like you to share that with him direct. He's looking to get some best practices on is there something new, innovative agencies are doing for recruitment retention. So if you know something, either your department or a department around you, we want to try to submit them so that he has those. Vital signs.
And vital signs is this weekend.
Numbers are down.
Numbers are way, way down. South Jeff got an innovation award. Yeah, like every conference, numbers are in the tank. There is some pretty good.
Ours was poorly attended.
Well, when Ann was very nice when she put in there that we canceled ours because of low registration, we had one registered.
2.
Oh, we were up to 2.
Yep.
We had 2 registered.
Well, registered,
One of
and
the
then I
biggest-
canceled the class and said it was a refund.
One of the biggest problems on attendance of these things is the same thing we're all facing is having enough bodies to put in the seats, let alone send the conference.
Well, and the extension of the cards
Yeah,
too.
the extensions that were granted, people got longer now to get this.
And also noted it's down nationwide.
It is, I talked to Ryan 2 weeks ago, and we had a long conversation about conferences, and there is a boatload of free education. UVM, Clarkson, everywhere is doing free
LifeNet.
online.
LifeNet does.
CME's Vital Signs Academy.
Yep.
You know, and when you get into the economics of it, you know, even to drive to, you know, North Pole Fire Station for some people is a chunk of change with gas at $4 a gallon. When you don't need the hours, it becomes really tough to justify. So hopefully Spring Point has a better result.
I'll talk about that when we get down there, some things we're gonna add. Any questions on SEMSCO or CMAC? I don't know if everybody realizes, but Mark is the chair of one of the most influential committees
Hence the
on.
conversations of the 3 more subgroups that I have.
So, but we appreciate all your hard work on it. Training and ed, Paul.
Well, we haven't had a formal meeting, but pretty much everything that's been going on within the region has been discussed. I got more in the county meeting, but everything moving forward, we're waiting on the state. Everything's at the commissioner's desk to be signed. So we're not able to move one way or the other, but we're prepared to go whichever direction they tell us. We got until December.
Colleen, I should have done you up under air medical. Do you have a report, anything you'd like to add?
I believe I shared the report of our numbers.
We sent that out.
Thank you, yep. And then only to dovetail on what was discussed, I just want to have clarification that Carthage Hospital, we are only utilizing Great Bend Fire Department for interfacility transports. We're using Carthage Fire Department for scene. So that's the difference. It was just between Mercy Flight Central, ourselves, we've done quite a bit of interfacility transports, and there was concerns from the neighbors.
Neighbors were getting.
Yeah, we didn't do like a noise ordinance kind of thing, but when they, you know, the fire department said, yes, we can utilize their area to land, we were not doing as many interfacility transports. And I think COVID really increased the amount of flights that both air medical companies were doing, to include also Fort Drum. But other than that.
And LifeNet did lunch for you for day 2 of the CISM.
Guilfoyle did the
And
first.
Guilfoyle did the first day, and so it's those types of collaborations that can help us do this training and help keep it so that it's a minimal cost or no cost at all. So we appreciate the efforts of everybody that stepped forward. Thank you. And thank you for that.
But that's all I have.
County reports.
Okay, so currently in the fall, we've got classes going on in Watertown, Indian River, Lewis County Search and Rescue. all have heard about the CIS course from 922 and 1013. We did a instructor course, AHA instructor course with City of Watertown Fire Department. And a lot of kudos to Debbie. There is an advanced EMT pilot course that's going to be starting here in about
Next Thursday.
I was gonna say 2 weeks, but I guess it's a week. What this is they're coming into the course without any certification. And when they end, they will have their advanced, but partway through, they have to take a basic EMT state exam because it's in Article 30, I believe.
It's a regulation.
Regulation. They have to have an EMT number to get into the advanced component. So there is like about a week gap.
Yeah.
So they'll have time to take the practical, sign up, get their test done, and then go right into the advanced course. If you're familiar with the two curriculums, the basic EMT and then the advanced EMT, a big component of the advanced course is repeating everything you did at the basic level. So with some face-to-face communication, because emails and telephone calls just couldn't get the message across of what we were trying to do. Debbie and Chris were able to explain it to the educational folks down there, John McMillan and Ryan, to tell them what our plan was, and they have approved it. So to that end, they suggested 15 students. I think we're at 18. So we're capping it, and we're going to see where it goes. So something to look forward to down the road. So another first for the North Country.
So they're going to test out all their stations at the BLS level, and then when they do the practical again, they're only doing the 2 ALS stations. They don't have to redo all the others. So that's going to make it very nice for them.
So we're excited to see where that goes.
Yep.
Right now, we still have all the capability of doing everything online, partially or complete, but we're doing all in person right now. In the spring, we have a CFR. We're going to offer a basic. Once again, in the past, we've had problems with the CFR. We just can't get the numbers to get a course put together. There is discussion at the state level that they're going to change the reimbursement. So instead of waiting till people have taken the written exam, taken the skills test, taken the state, and then you can voucher for them, there's talk now is once they've completed your course, you can voucher for them. So that will save a lot of headaches and for those people who get washed out along the way. So the big news for us is this Home Care Agency Collaborative Community Medicine and Paramedicine Grant, AKA the Mobile Integrated Health. We have gone through some painstaking meetings with the Home Care Association and Iroquois Health, IPRO, and some other agencies across the state, Broome County representatives, and Columbia Green, to get this pilot up and running. At this point, Columbia Green and Broome have barely even opened the door. Jefferson County will be making their first home visit tomorrow. So we've got everything approved. The monies have been approved. The grant money to come to county, it should be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $250,000. We're just waiting on the county attorney to approve the contract, and then the monies will be deposited. We'll get those monies out to our agencies that are participating. So we're very excited about that. We continue to still work closely with the OD MAP folks. We did some MCI training throughout the region. Chris and some others come up with a Neil and Rich, they're here, give kudos. It's the first 15-minute pouch. What do you do with the first 15 minutes of an MCI? the jobs, the roles, and so on. And then we went around, did this zone leadership, then went back through and did zone trainings. And we actually put it to test out at Fort Drum during the disaster drill. I will say, as an observer out there, in several of the after action comments, the MCI came off extremely well from the EMS side of the house. We got a lot of kudos, a lot of raves, to the point where the commanding general thought it might have been a fluke. So he wants to challenge us next year. So I think we'll be prepared. The other thing we have working through the Fort Drum emergency management team is we're going to start doing some joint trainings with utilizing some of our different agencies, personnel. It's all well and good to do these MCI drills, but it's the day-to-day where we don't interact with these folks. So we're working on getting that through, and it's coming to fruition. I think the Guardian Academy is coming up, and they're going to be allowing some of us to participate in that. We're still doing our COVID-19 vaccinations. However, the executive order runs out the 27th of this month unless they extend it again. So wait to see on that. Already mentioned Cape Vincent Fire Department commissioners decided to get out of the first responder business as of 10/1. The landing zone was already spoken about. And there was some issues early on about body armor for first responders. We actually had a responder who, I won't say got threatened, spoke to that he could possess it, but if he wore it, he would have him arrested.
So if we saw it in his car, he'd have him arrested.
So discussions were made with the district attorney's office ultimately, and they said, no, that's not the case. So any first responders, you can possess it, you can carry it, and you definitely can wear it. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any questions on Jefferson County report? Who's going to give St. Lawrence County report?
We're working on a strategic plan, and the system is completely collapsed.
You're always such a ray of sunshine.
You said that a couple months ago.
Bob, Lewis County.
Got faith in you, give it your best.
Now, as Paul had mentioned, we do have the one in,
22 right now.
yeah, we can talk about that's gonna throw some really big numbers in Lewis County. I can't say enough about the two instructors that are going after that. Side of the body.
All but 3 are Lewis County residents in Western bordering.
So, and to that end, the Lewis County, we supported both of those last week by buying the books. It's just another way that we can help, help ease the burden on some of the volunteer departments, which isn't much, but it's something.
And they're getting more and more expensive, so it takes a big weight lift off of the students.
So, and that was a direct result of, at our legislature level, we do have a EMS subcommittee, so we're taking a look at pretty much all angles of trying to figure out how to help. When you lose 30% of your providers over the past 10 years, it's time to wake up a little bit before these communities are not going to be able to respond to anything. And this consolidation talk is going through a lot of, varying agencies and so on and so forth, which is a good thing, because before, just puff your chest out, I'll take care of my own. I would always say, well, then do it. And then we're back to where it was. So, but at least we're having positive conversations right now. We too are doing the OD mapping through the emergency management management office and the EMS office. And unfortunately, because you never, every day, there's something more to add. Schools have started their school evacuation drills, are starting to get EMS and law enforcement and fire involved more and more in those, which is really a change from where it was before. Once again, schools were in that little zone of their own, where we take care of our own, we do our own thing, and operate in our own little vacuum. And now they're starting to see value in community participation. So we're still having those kind of positive conversations at the school safety committee level. And it's well, our EMS council did meet, very dismal numbers for that. We still got a conflict that we done most likely, when we couldn't get enough for quorum here. At our county level, we're suffering those same challenges as well. But we're trying to wake it back up and trying to keep it moving forward. So, other than that, we talked about the sudden informatic loss team a little bit. And last thing, because of the last conversation we had at the REMAC, or at the REMAC, the committee meeting we had, it woke me up a little bit, and I'm starting to take a closer look. I've got an exclusive in the office. I've got some clergy providers, in case there's an emergency, from non-denominational. And there's good representation from all forms of clergy. If you haven't done that in a while, your own respective counties you might like that. Just kind of use that list and make sure that the people you had on it before are in fact still available. That's all on my list. Other than that, anyone's got any questions?
Any questions?
Not a question, comment. I listen to Lewis County all the time, partly because I'm down through there so often. And I credit the county. The agencies are clearly calling in their status. So the dispatchers are sending closest available manpower from the home agency on a regular basis.
We do have some. Somebody came home. That's one of the things that we initially thought of when we started doing the internet service thing. And it works-ish.
Anything else? Old business, spring fling, just going over because we haven't met since then. We had a couple hundred in attendance. I actually thought it was a nice number. It wasn't overcrowded in there. People were able to get around and see everything. I had sent the letters out to the hospitals looking for money, and we got money from everywhere except one hospital. So I didn't think that was too shabby. So those will be going out again in December, looking for them to help sponsor next year's. Going to add to Thursday night, we're going to do an amazing race, and it'll be teams of 2, and you'll be going around and doing different tasks. You may be blindfolded at one, it's your teammate trying to do it. You may be having a hand tied behind your back and your teammate, and together doing something. You may be doing a station where you can't talk and different things. And we're going to keep track of the times, and whoever has the best time is going to win a free registration to the next year. And I'm hoping to get a couple of those Burger King crowns that they can wear the next day around for the day. So the taco night went over well Thursday night. I think that was a good hit. And then Friday, we're going to add another pre-conference, and Mark and I are going to call it You Don't Know What You Don't Know. And the morning one is going to be for departments that have no paid staff, going over just regulations and management things, not leadership, management. Are you filing your 990s? Are you doing your OSHA forms? Are you OSHA 300 and all that different stuff? And then the afternoon one will be a hybrid if you're all paid or you're a combination of some of the things that you have to have for that type deal. So hope is we'll get some attendance there. You've already gotten some people that have reached out with things to do speaking, correct, for the next one, so.
Yep, we've probably gotten about 12 or 13 speakers who've submitted. Some local, some not, and some that I don't think they read the application, but.
And I have extended an invite to Lillian Bagsignor. She is the first female chief of FDNY EMS to come up and be one of our speakers. And they're supposed to let us know in November, but it looks like her schedule looks like it's open, so she'll be up. If anybody's had an opportunity to hear her speak, she does an amazing job. So that would be a nice keynote speaker for us. So if there's something else you want to see or something, hey, why don't we look at that? Please share it. Don't wait until January, because that's we're kind of down that path too far. But if there's something, send me an email with what you're looking for. Any other old business? I know it's been a long meeting, but we haven't really met since April, so there was a lot to cover. New business, you were all provided the 2023 meeting schedule. Can anybody want to see any changes? And, you know, we don't really know when all the state council meetings are. They're trying to have them, but apparently they can't. Their law doesn't allow them to go out longer than 6 months to book stuff.
They have to go on a RFP if it's more than 6 months.
You don't know when the CON meeting is gonna be either.
Yep. 2 seconds. Maybe.
2023. So February 27th, April 3rd, that April one is really, that one has to be per our bylaws. That is our annual meeting. We have the spring fling dates in there. And you notice we did not put Sunday in again. We're just gonna stay with a Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. It was very nice picking up and getting home by 9 o'clock on Saturday night instead of Sunday afternoon. June 12th and October 16th. So you'll notice that the REMAC meetings, we have pushed back to 5:30 from 4. We used to do CQI between the two meetings, and we don't have to do that anymore. So we were hoping that we maybe will see better REMAC participation by moving the meeting so people can get there. And in person, can be here, or I'm gonna go out and somebody said they didn't think there was much room at the airport. Conference room is here. We're gonna go take a look at that and see if we can figure that out, because that may work better for us to have it out there. There's a little bit more space.
Oh,
Quite a bit bigger.
And they have air conditioning.
I've been out there. They're an account, but I don't remember how big they're.
It's big. It's bigger in this room.
They're one of my accounts, but I don't remember.
I've got a building that's
Smaller than
200.
50s.
So
I have that whole complex for my key system.
Oh, yeah.
Take these walls out, it's at least as big as the.
Yeah, easily.
You're dealing with the grant out there, right?
Huh?
You're dealing with the grant out there.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
great guys.
So can we have a motion to adopt this? And I would say the prelude I'll put in there is if we're meeting February 27th and the next week they're having a state council, then we may look at moving it type deal like we did with the June one. We didn't meet in June because they weren't meeting until July and didn't see
I'll
much
make that
sense of
motion.
getting people together. So Ron made a motion, Dottie, you second? Dottie seconded to adopt the 2023 REMAC REMSCO schedule. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So
And
carried.
of course, in this, we know that if a CON comes in, we have to have a meeting.
Well, that was the next thing I had under new business. We will be having a CON, a transfer of ownership. They were hoping to have it to us so we could do it with tonight, but they're having to deal with two different hospitals. The hospital in St. Lawrence County and then their governing hospital is in Rochester, and we're trying to get the F&Cs from the Rochester folks, and it's just not coming as quick as we were hoping, or other people were hoping.
Oh, I know.
So
that one.
there will be a need to have another meeting. I envision it will probably either be in November or the beginning of December.
November.
And we
Yeah,
do
you
not
want the
have to
money.
have a public hearing on this, so that cuts out some of that stuff. But we will need to have a quorum, we will have to bring in a stenographer and the whole shebang.
Now, if there's business, we can also conduct it that night or not?
No,
You're going to hold
Special
it just
meeting
as
for
a
that.
special meeting for that.
yep,
Now, what about down the road? Can we combine, when we call, make it a general meeting so that we can?
if there's business that, yeah, we could,
I
Just
don't
has to
have
be
an objection to
advertised
it.
as such.
huh?
It just has to be advertised as
Yes.
such.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Put it-
right. Because the more stuff you have, the better the draw to bring the people in.
Does anybody else have any new business?
I just have a couple of things, not to belabor your meeting, but
No, that's fine, that's what we're here for.
to dovetail onto some comments that Paul made about MCI training and the effectiveness out at Fort Drum's exercise. We threw some grant money at that, so Jefferson County is going to have an influx of mass casualty incident management and mass casualty triage resources coming into it. Our intention that is in probably the same attorney's office that's doing your contract review. I suspect that probably first quarter of the year, all the ambulances will be getting MCI packs. Some of the ambulances will be getting the 6-pack for when they're first in, going to be a bigger resource, including Guilfoyle in this. And then the MCI resources that are at South Jeff, Tiers, and Mead Street will all be getting the big packs, and then there'll be some MCI boards put into the system as well. And the second thing that may or may not be of interest to this group is the county recently did an RFP for AEDs because our buildings department needed to replace about 14 and our office needed to replace about 7. Are they CR pluses? Right, pre-CR2s. So we did a bid and the bid was awarded to GE Pickering. It's a Phillips FRX is about $1,000 on the contract. So there's an opportunity there because there's always piggyback language for other counties as well as probably, I know, the Jefferson County agencies. If there's a need for those, then I'll be happy to share. But it was a grueling process with our purchasing department, but we ended up with a pretty good bid spec, and FRX, Phillips FRX was the low price, best value.
Anybody else have any business? Larry?
Just information for folks. There was a Skywarn training planned in Lewis County, the JCC Center. That's been changed to some online now.
Yeah, it's online now, yep, because our county went around for COVID.
Yeah, so that's go to weather.gov/BUF and you can get the information for that. It does require pre-registration, but you can sit at home and watch it.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
It's actually a good class.
It is.
Anybody else?
I almost thought I joined with that.
Again, thank you so much for getting our quorum that we needed so we could push forward that paperwork for Parishville and look for something else for us for the other transfer that we're gonna need to get through. Hearing nothing else, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Larry Gerard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank